couple videos here where I just want to look at the Rhino offense. And they do some things that I think are really creative. So the first, in this clip that we're looking at, they're going to have a loaded right sideline. So they're going to put 4 people over on the right-hand sideline. This looks a lot like a 3, a vertical stack 3. This isn't quite the 2 that we ever set up. I never really set us up this far wide apart. But it's a little bit similar, and there's some ideas that we can take from this. So the first thing that we'll notice is that this person makes a big horizontal move. So I think Rhino has a similar idea to us, the attack layer concept, where somewhere deep of the thrower, like for me, it's 10 to 15 yards. You want to be like traveling horizontally through the field. And I see that a lot with things that Rhino does in their offense. So there's a big horizontal move. Number 10 here makes a big horizontal move. He turns into a handler. He ends up settling into this space over here. Once his horizontal move is done, look at this is like another huge horizontal move that comes all the way from the sideline. I talked about coming all the way from the sideline at the field house. I want to get the different draw. So here we got shoulder to shoulder, and this is just a big horizontal move. And the target space is like somewhere underneath the 3. And it's really hard to guard somebody for that much space, especially when you're shoulder to shoulder and you got them boxed out, and you could just make this big, long horizontal move. As this horizontal move comes across, the 3 comes to life, and the 3 starts moving over to the opposite sideline. And right about here, in this moment, is where I think they've set up something pretty interesting. So it's the basic concept of like, oh, we want a thrower and we want a cutter alone on top of that thrower. And when we look in all of this space, it's just 1v1. So they've created space, but also they've changed where all of their people were from one sideline to the other, and they've done it really quickly. So now they're kind of getting into a side stack that is on the left-hand sideline, and they just keep going. So it's all of a sudden they went from being heavily loaded on the right. Here we have 4 players in this right space. We make a big horizontal move, another big horizontal move, and then we just flip. And we flip from being a right-sided stack to basically becoming a left-sided stack. And when we get to here, again, this is like very similar to a lot of other themes where we just want a thrower to have the disc, and we want one cutter that is playing 1v1 in space. So all of this space over here is 1v1. But also notice how Rhino as a team just flipped from being a right side stack to a left side stack, and it happened very quickly. And Machine probably comes down on the pole, and they see everybody loaded on this sideline over here, and they build their defense for that. And then all of a sudden Rhino switches, and now Machine is scrambling to change their offense and adjust. And I think that's just like a smart way of setting up your offense to be successful. Here's Rhino's offense on the field again. One thing that Rhino did a lot was like a double centering pass. So, I mean, here you might say, oh, they're just recognizing a sag and like chiseling over. But Rhino they were just like such an incredibly patient offense, and they were very willing to just take like a second centering pass if the front of the defense was trying to stop. If the front of the defense was working really hard to stop the first thrower, like is happening right here, they were just very willing to take a second centering pass. And one of the keys to it is how inactive all of their cutters were. So when you watch this Frisbee come to the first centering pass, here's the first centering pass. There's really only one cutter who moves. Number 17 here tries to make a move, and the others are just standing and waiting. And as soon as this second centering pass comes, it's almost like they're triggered into action. So 34 starts his move on this second centering pass. That gets him open there. And here's the thing that is really, really exciting is that as this comes into 34, the 2 edge pieces, and I think I might have drawn this in a classroom case, the 2 edge pieces like come together from the edge, and that like creates a pairs cutting opportunity. So here we go. This is like the pairs cut that I'm seeing, and they're going to end up, one's going to go deep and one's going to come under, and they get open, and the thrower actually notices it a little late in my opinion. but they come together and they just get 2v2 in space. And you look at all of everybody where all the other pieces are, right? All of the other pieces are kind of behind the disc. We're not crowding from any edges. We just have 2v2 in a big space, and it's really hard to defend like that. And here 42 gets open. This should be thrown, I think, now, but it takes the thrower a while to find them. Eventually they do. So I just think that's really good offense, and it's a really good example of how you can build a pairs cut on top of your first play. Some more Rhino offense. This time again, they're going to come out with like a big, and this is more dramatic than I think clip number 1 was. This is like a true 4 people on the sideline side stack over here and a single cutter all alone over there. They're going to do this a little bit differently. They're creating, in my mind, they're creating a pairs cut between this far person and this far person. So they kind of bring them in together. So in this moment, you can see where this is the clean vision, the clean view of the pairs cut. It's like, okay, 1, 2. You do have one defender over here who's thinking, I can help over the top, but you're trying to create a situation where it's 2v2 in big spaces. And as I let this roll, you can see the first cutter is driving deep, and the second cutter just does a little push into his defender and dropped under. So this is the pairs cut. One person's going to go deep, one person's going to come under. And there's 2 things I'll point out about how 17 gets open. So the first is 17 engages with his defender. This is what engage right here. In this moment, 17 engages with the defender. 17's got right shoulder inside of left shoulder. He's got right hip inside of left hip. And he just drives. He's not like running through the middle of this person's chest. They're shoulder to shoulder, and he just drives them a couple steps into space. The second thing I think that helps 17 get open is that 77 is wrestling with, do I need to help here or do I need to guard this person? Also, 77 is just afraid of 17 as a deep threat. So there's just a lot of pressure going on in 77's mind here. Do I need to go help over here? I'm afraid of 17 as a deep cutter, and that is going to just create a lot of separation. So yes, I do think 17 just gets open by themselves, but this adds pressure to 77 and kind of forces a big mistake, and that's a really big under for lots of yards. I have this one in here just because I get asked this question a whole bunch of times. So we throw the Frisbee, we have 2 people on a sideline, and that happens a lot in our offense where there might be 2 people on a sideline, and we just throw it to the bottom person on that sideline. And I often get the question of, I talk so much, I think I spend so much time focusing on make big horizontal moves that turn into vertical moves, right? Start from here, make a big horizontal move, get up, get down, do something like that. And the question then becomes, well, what if I'm just on top of the disc? What do I do if I'm not this person? I can't make like a horizontal move to get to this spot. And the answer is you're already in the spot. You're already in the attack point. So it's okay to just make a vertical move, which is what you're going to see here. So the person on top of the disc is just going to like come towards the thrower, break it down, and go deep, and we're going to throw a goal. And this is, I think this this should show up in our offense quite a bit. If you can just imagine, like, maybe we had, maybe these 2 were just like a 2-person vert stack over here. Maybe we put a vertical 2 on the left, and like we wanted like a 3 on the bottom. And the defense just came late, so our center handler just decided to throw it right over here. I wanted an arrow. Imagine that the center handler just decided to throw it at the bottom of the 2 before anybody moves because the throw was free. What would the top of the 2 need to do? The top of the 2, they just need to like get up and down on the right there. And so this is a good example of how that can turn into a goal scoring opportunity. Here that person's on top of them. Boom, take them deep. Let's throw a huck to the middle of the end zone, and let's go 2-handed dunk on people. this look from Rhino a couple times now. So they send a bunch of people to this right-hand sideline. We've seen one where there were 3 truly on the sideline. This person was more in the middle, and then this person was on that sideline again. So we've seen an action where these guys kind of did a double horizontal move on top of each other. We've also seen one where there were 4 on the sideline just like this, and then this person here made some pairs cut with this person over here. This clip is another unique one in that the pairs cut is going to end up being this person, and they're going to work together to set up a pairs cut. So as they activate and step into their lane, so they step into their horizontal lanes, you can see that they kind of turn into that pairs cut idea right here. And you've got 2 of them in line, ready to attack. So this first person, normally in a lot of pairs clips that I'm showing you, this first person goes deep. Here, this guy's going to just threaten deep and go under. This guy's going to kind of be that deep cut. So one person go one way, one person go the other way. It doesn't always have to be deep and then under. And this is an example where it's under and then deep. So 17 works that under space, and then 42 over here attacks the deep. And somehow 42 gets the attention of both machine defenders. So both of these guys playing defense over here are worried about this deep cut. They're afraid of getting blown up deep. That just lets 17 get the easiest touch in the world on the under. And you can see how 17 opens up his arms. Hey, I'm open, I'm getting big. And he also just slows down a little bit. He gives his thrower some extra time to take the layup to the middle of the field. If somebody's wide open in the middle of the field, we shouldn't be throwing to them. And it's okay if you want to go slow. And I think it's really good how Rhino just builds another pairs cut opportunity on top of this thrower. So this guy gets a touch, he looks upfield, and immediately he sees this over here. 1, 2. 2 players in line with each other, ready for some kind of pairs cut. And a lot could happen. You could send this guy deep and this guy under. Alternatively, if they were super coordinated, you could almost run like another diamond cut here, where these guys are doing something. This guy kind of sweeps and goes deep. This guy could step up and drop in. So they got a lot of options here. This is 2v2 with a lot of space. This is really hard to defend. What ends up happening is that they both go deep. And that's fine. And that's actually, it works out really well because number 13 here is worried about this 2v2. He's thinking, oh man, that's a pairs cutting. That's a 2v2 situation in space. I got to be worried. And they are gonna end up drawing 13, which is just going to give 34 the easiest slash in the world. So we can let that roll here. So we see the double deep. We see the 13 go with them. 34 just takes the easiest slash. Give your thrower the easy check down. And then we come right here and we still have a pairs cutting opportunity. There's still a lot of things that Rhino can do. So we have a thrower. Here's our thrower, and on top of them is a pairs cut. And again, you could do there's so many options. You could have this person go deep and this person come under. You could have these guys run a diamond cut. You could have this person sweep, this guy step up, and then when this guy drives deep, he could drive in. There's a lot of ways that these 2 players can combine. They're playing 2v2 in space. It's dangerous. They should be able to make something happen. They end up just getting a really easy layup throw towards the thrower, and that's good. And they're already past half field. So they've created a lot of space, and they've attacked, and they've created 2v2 opportunities, and they've gotten across midfield with very little resistance.